Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel and please like my videos and also watch my other videos. So the last update about Twist of Fate, Pragya tells Prachi why she decided to punish Abhi. Let's continue. Aliyah asks Manish to go. Manish says Abhi is in the hospital and his condition is bad. He says Pragya has brought him to the hospital last night and said that he fell down from the staircase. Aliyah asks what is the hospital name. Manish says the city hospital. Rambru comes home and calls Prachi. Prachi asks, what are you hiding? Rambru asks her to hug him. Prachi asks if you go to the office to work or... Rambru says, I did not trouble you when you went for an important thing. He hugs her. Prachi says Sonny is behind. Sonny gives her water and smiles. Rambru asks, did I crack any joke? Sonny goes. He says, you have no privacy to romance. She says, we have room to romance. He says, we had privacy in our rented house and asks, shall we go to that house for romance? Prachi says, you say anything? He says, I brought something for you and gives her a card. Prachi says, it might be that I love you or I miss you. He asks her to see. Prachi sees the good daughter card. He says, best daughter of the world and says, usually parents give this card, but I give this card to you because I didn't see such a good daughter like you. He says, you are the one who united your parents and says that they are together because of you. Rambru says when your mom met with an accident, you searched for her everywhere and you used to go to your dad silently to relieve his pain. He says you are the blessing, an angel, etc. Prachi says let me be what I am. Ria hears them and gets jealous. Rambru says you don't know who you are and says that I love you so much. If someone comes to know about your qualities, then he will love you too. Prachi hugs him and asks him not to make her proud. He says he is proud of her and he will make tea for her. He asks her to be there. The card flies away from her hand and falls near Ria. Prachi says it is good that you came. I want to give you good news. Ria says I know about your good news. Why do you want to unite them? They are happy being separated. Prachi asks, what are you saying? You know what was Papa's condition without mother. Ria says I know everything and asks why she did this and says I am sure that you get happiness by all this, pointing at the card. She says you have no right to interfere in anyone's life. She says don't interfere. Let them live like they wanted. She says when mom left with you, dad used to love me a lot and when you both returned, we got separated. Ria says whatever you did is very wrong and you don't know how many lives will be spoiled because of you. She gives the card in her hand and goes. Prachi gets worried. Aliyah comes to the hospital and insists to meet Abhi. The receptionist says that he is discharged. Manish comes there and asks how he is discharged as he was in the emergency. The receptionist says that Mr. Mera wanted to go home, so Pragya requested for discharge and appointed a nurse. Aliyah thanks Manish and asks him not to tell Tanu. She thinks that she doesn't know what drama she will do and she thinks to save Abhi from Pragya's clutches. Rambru brings tea for Prachi. Prachi tells Rambru that Ria says something which made her think that she is like old Ria. Rambru asks what did she say? Prachi says that she got angry with me as I was at home. Rambru asks what are you hiding from me? Prachi says why will I lie? She says that she was angry as she might be missing me. Rambru says when sisters love each other, then they do fight. He says let's focus on our tea date. Prachi says I cannot feel what I felt. I didn't feel love in a fight as I saw the glimpse of old Ria. Rambru asks what happened. Prachi thinks that she is the same old Ria who thinks that mother and father shall be separated. Aliyah comes home. Ria holds her hand. Aliyah hugs her. Ria remembered everything and asks what happened. Dad shall be with you. Then what is he doing with mom? Aliyah says actually. Ria says I don't want to know the reason. How did you let this happen? Aliyah says I am seeing you after many days. You look so beautiful. She sees the scene door in her airline and asks, did you get married? Ria says yes, I got married. My half dream is fulfilled. I dreamt to marry Rambru, but I married his cousin brother Siddharth. Ria says Rambru and I are staying in the same house and I feel jealous and angry seeing Rambru and Prachi together in a room. She says this thing happened due to you and you had promised to get Rambru and me married, but I did not get anything as Prachi married him ultimately. Ria says I tried to forget Rambru in these 2 years, but destiny had other plans for me and created the situation which made me marry Siddharth and brought me to the same house where Rambru and Prachi are staying. She says she is in a loveless marriage. Her husband has many expectations from her, but I cannot give him love as I love Rambru. Rhea says she has scolded Prachi for bringing them together and asks Aliyah why did she let it happen. Aliyah feels sorry for her and says, I am happy to see you. She says, I know that your father is with Pragya, but I will be near him and bring him back. She says, I will bring Rambru back to you as well. Aliyah says, don't believe in your marriage. I will make everything fine. She says, when you called me, I was so happy and says, I missed you so much. They hug. Rhea says, I missed you too and I love you so much. She says, sorry for telling her so much. Aliyah says, no problem. Prachi is back in your life, but it is good that you did not get trapped in a love trap. She asks her to go home. Rhea says, did you know that dad was in the hospital? Aliyah says he went to Pragya's house. She promised that she will not let them unite. Rhea says, separate them and then call me. Aliyah says, after separating my brother and Pragya, I will separate Rambru and Prachi too. She asks her to go home and apologize to Prachi. She says you will keep your enemy close and she will not know your plans. Rhea says, I thought I would forget Rambru, but since I met him again, I don't think I can live without him. Aliyah says, Rambru is yours and he will come back to you. Rhea says, I got a call and I need to go home. She leaves. Aliyah comes inside the house and asks what is happening here. Grandma says they try to break Tanu's box with hammer so that they can steal. Mitali says Taiji asks her to bring the hammer. Taiji scolds Mitali. Grandma scolds them for stealing in their own house. Mitali says we try to make Tanu understand that Abhi is related to us also. Aliyah asks Grandma not to tell Tanu and says that she will not give you anything. She says we have to bring my brother back. Grandma says let him be there with Pragya. At least she will take care of Abhi. Aliyah says she brought the police here and today my brother reached the hospital. She says Pragya is inauspicious for him and she heard that my brother fell down from the stairs. She says she wants him to come back home. Tanu hears them. Tanu asks Manish what had happened with Abhi in Pragya's house. Manish recalls Aliyah asking him not to tell anything to Tanu and says I don't know who is Pragya. Tanu shows 1,000 rupees and says I need just this information. He says I heard the doctor saying that something had happened with Abhi and this is a police case. Tanu gives him 500 rupees and says you gave me half information. Tanu asks him to go and earn the money if you want. She thinks that now I came to know about Pragya's weak nerve and you did not know what I would do with you and it will be shock to Aliyah too as she wants to bring Abhi back home and ruin my plans. She calls someone and says that she needs him to be ready. Pragya asks the nurse about the injection. The nurse says that the more he sleeps, the more he will recover. Abhi is sleeping. Pragya says you want to trouble me and hurt yourself. She says if you find happiness troubling me, then I like it. She touches his face. He opens his eyes. Pragya says I am with you. Sleep. Abhi sleeps again. Pragya recalls their moment and covers blanket on him. She thinks of her moment with him. Sushma stands outside and looks at them. Siddharth and Rambru are talking about work. Prachi comes there and scolds them, asking them to have breakfast and talk about office in the office. Rambru says mommy says this. Prachi says rules will be followed if mommy is here or not. Rambru asks her to do breakfast. Prachi says I will go and see dad, if he wake up or not. Even he needs to have breakfast. She turns to go and sees Rhea standing. Rhea thinks of Aliyah's words and says that she couldn't sleep all night and she was thinking if she became the old Rhea. Rhea says you can understand whatever I told you last night and asks her to forgive her. She says she doesn't know how to handle her feelings. She says she is impulsive and possessive and says when I didn't get my mother's love, then I got possessive for my dad's love. Rhea says this happens between siblings, that whatever is mine and I have those feelings. What to do? She asks her to forgive her and says I went in my past for some time. I am not understanding like you and I don't know when to speak and when to stay silent. Rhea says when mom had an accident and when she went missing, we all got separated. You had Rambru and I had dad, but he used to drink all the time. Aunt and Tanu would be fighting all day. She says nobody was with me to tell me that everything will be fine and says at one point, I thought I don't deserve anyone's love. Prachi asks her to pacify her. Rhea smirks and stares at Rambru. Prachi says I couldn't understand you. I am so sorry. Rhea says you might have thought that the old Rhea is back. She says a hidden feeling came out last night and this new Rhea wants just love and nothing else. She says all I need is love. Rhea recalls Aliyah's words and says I need your love. Will I get my sister's love? Will you love me? and says, I love my sister so much, more than mom and dad. She asks her to love and support her. Prachi says, I always loved you. You are part of my heart and you are my life. She asks her to be like this always and says, I love you so much. She hugs her again. Rhea looks at Rambru and thinks that she has to hug Prachi, whose face she doesn't want to see just due to him. Rambru sees them hugging and asks Rhea to hug Prachi of this side too. Siddharth says Rambru will not let anyone love his wife. Prachi asks Rhea to have breakfast. Rhea comes to the dining table and stares at Rambru. Siddharth notices her behavior. Rhea looks at Siddharth and fake smile. Rambru gets up and says that he will go and say bye to Prachi. Rhea goes behind him. Siddharth gets doubtful. Pragya calls Shagun. Sushma says that she took off. Pragya opens the door and sees Aliyah. Aliyah says, I came to meet my brother and not to argue. She asks, where is my brother's room? Pragya says, yesterday. Tanu comes there and says, what happened at the hospital? Aliyah asks, what are you doing here? Tanu says, following you, and calls the lawyer. She asks them to talk to her lawyer and asks Pragya to hire a lawyer and asks her not to tell her that she did not warn her before sending her to jail. Rhea thinks that what did Rambru saw in Prachi that he married her and thinks that she is Dumbo and got flown into emotion when I shed 2 tears. She thinks that Rambru deserves smart girl like her. Siddharth comes there and calls Rhea. Rhea asks, what do you want to ask? I can't wait here all day. Siddharth says sorry and asks, what is your problem with me? Rhea thinks if he is doubtful about Rambru and me. Siddharth says, I think you don't like me anymore. Rhea says, why are you saying this? Siddharth says, when you ignored me in the morning, you hugged Prachi and even talked to Rambru, but you ignored me. Rhea says, why did you mention Rambru's name? Siddharth says, I mentioned Prachi's name too. Rhea says she cannot give personal attention to everyone. He asks why she ignores him in the bedroom. Rambru comes there. Rhea says bye Rambru and says bye to Siddharth. They leave. Pragya asks, why do you think that I should hire a lawyer? Tanu says, you think wrong about me. You thought that I hate my husband and I enjoy selling him, and I don't care for my husband. Pragya says he is my husband. Tanu says everyone knows that you haven't accepted him and you kept him for society. She asks her not to lecture her, else I have to tell some old things and you will get ashamed in front of your new mother. Sushma says if I open my mouth, then you will be ashamed in front of your Namand. Tanu says I have come here with my lawyer to break your daughter's ego and not to break the contract. Sushma asks her to talk to her. Tanu asks, will you answer me? Sushma asks what? Tanu says, I want to ask Pragya if she thinks that she sold Abhi for money. Pragya says, you are a greedy woman. Tanu asks the lawyer to tell them the clauses and says, I will go and meet Abhi. Pragya says he is sleeping. Tanu says, I know that he is on high dose of medicine. Aliyah says he should have told us about this accident. Pragya tries to say, Aliyah goes to meet Abhi. The lawyer asks Pragya to bring a copy of the contract, else you will say that it is not in the contract. Rambru asks Siddharth what happened to him and says I can help you. He says if I help you, then you will be stress-free and then I can focus on my startup and live my life. Siddharth smiles. Rambru asks what is the problem. He says I will not tell anyone, not even Prachi. Siddharth says you love Prachi so much and you will not tell her. Rambru says I love you too and says some relationship can be felt and can't be expressed. Siddharth says I need to go. Rambru says, what do you think, that I cannot help you? Elder brother doesn't trust his younger brother. Siddharth says this is office. Rambru keeps his hand on his head and says if you don't tell me what is bothering you, then I will die. Siddharth asks, why are you doing like a kid? Rambru says I did not give fake promise and asks him to say. Siddharth says I will tell you but at home. Rambru says I will solve your problem and asks him. He reminds him of his promise, else he will die. Siddharth goes. Rambru gets worried. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please don't forget to check the channels for more other updates. And please don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.